very intro song to totally waste your time.
It's funny how often, now that I live in San Francisco, that I get called right-wing. Because my whole life in Utah, I got called left-wing. But in San Francisco, I'm right-wing. And, when I was a kid, I remember liking Ronald Reagan in the 80s. I remember not liking Jimmy Carter for whatever reason. Too young to really have opinions, but I knew my parents were Republicans, so I kind of thought, okay, well, I'm a Republican. I call the Democrats Democrats, but I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. What the fuck did I know, But now, it might seem like I'm more right-wing than I am, because, that there's that old thing that I can talk shit about my mom, but you can't talk shit about my mom, I can say the N-word because I'm black, but you can't because you're white. I feel a bit that way about Republicans, because I grew up around Republicans. Everybody I knew mostly were Republicans. So here I spend a lot of time kind of talking shit about the right and Republicans, and I've spent most of my life talking shit about the right. I left Utah to get away from the right, from conservatism, from churchiness, from the church lady. That's why I left. I had no idea that the left would be far worse for all the reasons why I left the right. I left the right. But, so even still here now, now that I'm old, I'm realizing that my time is better spent with people who are conservative. My time is better spent talking to them. First of all, they will talk to you. They won't just call you a racist and tell you to shut up. They won't just call you a xenophobe or a sexist, or they won't just call you some hateful name telling that you're the hateful one. They won't treat you hatefully while claiming you are the one that's filled with hate. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's easier to bring conservatives into reason than it is it's easier to pull people on the right to the center than it is to pull people on the left to the center. They're much more resistant. It's like when you're young and you're conservative, you secretly want to be. Because the left always looks alluring. It looks like it's more fun. Hippies, look at how they dress. Woohoo, clowns, yay! Everything fun. All the entertainers are on the left, swearing. All the fun, don't obey the rules. It all seems to be lefty stuff. So conservatives all secretly, want to be drawn leftwards. They want to find out that they can loosen up a little bit, and they do, slowly but surely, if you work on them. But there's almost nothing you can do to somebody on the left except for let them get older. Because so many of them do, by the time they're 40, end up drifting to the right because they make a bunch of mistakes and they figure out that all their experiments with no caution, all their ideas that they just implement willy-nilly, some of them turned out to not be effective, and some of them turned out to be bad. They end up regretting a lot of things, so they drift a little right. That's what's happened to me. But there are still plenty of things like this podcast will probably end up criticizing the right more than it criticizes the left, even though I'm more annoyed with the left and more fearful of the left. The left are just making moves. I mean, when the right was trying to clamp down on free speech, they were doing it kind of without an authoritative way. They weren't doing it with the government gun so much. Where the left is using, when a religious person is trying to assert authority over you, it's pretty much imaginary. God will smite you. Oh, okay, well, we'll see. But when Uncle Sam comes to smite you, he has a real gun. There's real consequences there. So, yeah, I'm definitely more fearful of the left. But also, I think the center, the right center, is where things get worked out, because that's where the conversation happens. So another thing that drives me crazy about the left is there seems to be this reactive thing that happens on the right. When the left goes too far one direction, the right goes too far in the other direction to try to correct it, which just seems natural. Seems like the way to do the way balance happens, But you don't want to overcorrect. One of the things that kind of really bothers me about the right's reaction right now is you get all these dudes going, beta, fucking beta, cuck, you beta cuck, as if every person on the right is this big, tall, muscular alpha male, whatever that is. Every one of them is the star quarterback. They're all Navy SEALs. They're all just rippling with muscle and bravery and every masculine trait, and anything less than that is a fag. A beta cuck. You want to see a black guy screw your wife. Really? That's what you're going with? And you're trying to seem reasonable? Now, that doesn't seem reasonable. It's dumb. Also, because when I think of alpha male and beta male, I go, what am I? Am I an alpha or beta? I don't know. I think I've been treated as if I'm an alpha in certain respects of my life because I developed a certain sense of style and niche. I figured out how to deal with alphas. I don't even, again, what the fuck is an alpha? Is it only a physical thing? Is it, I'm a strong, rippling warrior who can crush you? I'm certainly not that at all, But do I do what the fuck I want? Yeah. Do I influence people? I think I do. I've been told that I do. Is that alpha or is that beta? I'm not even limber. I can't stretch, Like I said in another podcast, I'm not in shape. I can't run up a hill. Don't rely on me to save people out of a 4-story building. I might be able to wheel some wheelchairs out of the first floor, but somebody else is going to have to do the work upstairs, because I ain't no fucking hero. And I'm 52. So yeah, what's this beta stuff anyway? It's just dumb anyway. I don't think any of them believe it. In fact, a lot of them I believe probably feel as though they are betas, whatever that means. So when I look at the world, I go, well, you've got a room for all types. I think nature creates things to be, diverse, And when I'm talking about diversity here, I'm not talking about, different races of people, but I am talking about that too, but not in the way that the left is talking about it, but just everything has a niche. You find a niche and then you exploit that niche, and everybody has, a short person has a lower center of gravity. They're going to be good at this thing. A taller person is going to be good at that thing, and everything has its role. And yeah, the toxic masculine stereotype, doesn't seem that fun when it's in its bad form, but seems fucking great when it's in its good form, when it's slam dunking the ball, or when it's saving a kitten out of a tree in a tender way. You know, when people use their great power for wonderful things, fantastic. But that's everything. So you take all these betas, you know, people like me who create art and finesse other things and maybe humor. Lord knows it takes getting picked on to develop a really good sense of humor. When have you ever met a handsome, strapping, beautiful, funny person? I mean, it happens rarely, and it only happens if that person was raised thinking otherwise. You know, they had older brothers to pick on them. You know, or they came from a culture that picked on people anyway. If doors are flying open for you and opportunities are laid at your feet, fat chance developing a good sense of humor. Probably not going to happen. And you can get comfortable with that. It's not a big deal. But for the rest of everybody else, you got all these different positions that need to be filled. You got accountant jobs. You've got all these positions that don't require this alpha thing. Thinking things through. There's one way to be brute force is one way to do something. Thinking things through with the scientific method is another way. A sneaky plan. Betas are probably better at sneaking around, drawing, thinking of the details. Why? Because they have to. So yeah, this whole beta, it's dumb. It's dumb. And by the way, conservatives, if you're and congratulations on one hand, because the tent of conservatism is getting bigger and bigger. Hallelujah. That's fun. It's always good when more people can be in the club. But you could do more work there. This beta cuckery, this beta cuck stuff, it's not necessary. It's just, why drive certain people, why drive certain ideas into the left? I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, because the left is excommunicating people left and right. It's hard to get away from that. But why? Why push them away? Why not draw them in? If you've got good ideas, why not draw them in? I don't have any problem with betas. What's the second? A, B, C? What's the C one? Cuck? I guess cuck is the C. But yeah, who cares? Picking on people and mocking them, how does that advance conservatism? How does that make a good idea better? How does that just not repel people against that idea? It doesn't work. You know, so when you've got people on the left who have this attitude that all these fuckers on the right are just these asshole, bullies who pick on people, you can see why they would think that. Right? With all this beta, cuck, picking on their masculinity. Why? It doesn't advance the idea. It doesn't make things better. It might make you feel macho, but come on, everybody sees through it. The real tough guys don't go around doing that shit. They just don't. Most of them. Of course, there are some that do, but most people that come with that big size, they don't really have to. Their presence isn't intimidating enough, and they spend a lot of their life trying to compensate for the fact that people are mostly intimidated by them. And they end up being these big old soft-hearted people who go out of their way to help people. And that's the ideal. That's how you want to be. That's the nice way to be. That's how to win friends and influence people. And you just got to know that you betas aren't so bad to hang out with. They're funny. The term beta just needs to go away. It's a dumb term. It's disparaging, and it's meant to emasculate. And the left is doing that too. You incel. You fucking incel. Oh, okay. So where is it? No home for the beta? Even on the left, they respect the beta, but they, you incel, you can't get laid. They're just it's just another way of saying you're a beta cuck. The left they do it instantly, when they don't like what you have to say. So, yeah, this is why I have no home. Why I never feel at home on either side, because they're so similar in so many ways, because it's that team mentality. You got to be on one side or the other. There's no thinking things through and going, well, you got a point. On the one hand, that's reasonable. Yeah, okay, so betas do this and whatever, and alphas do this. There's plenty of room, There's room for everybody. Let's just figure out what you're good at and exploit it and live harmoniously within the choir. You're an alto, you're a tenor, you're a bass. There's no reason why we need to have a whole choir full of basses. Nobody wants to listen to an album of basses. You want the sopranos, you want the high sopranos, you want the tenors, you want the whole range of voices to blend in and create the beautiful sound. And it's that way with pretty much everything in nature. You want the hot fire to melt the metal to make the delicate little jewelry, And you want the masculine guy to mine the ore out of the earth and get the gold so this little artist can put the little delicate filigree on it, on your belt, on your masculine, award that you pin on your chest. Some little fucking gay guy made that, I'm speaking mostly of males here. I'm leaving women out of the discussion here because I'm such a fucking jerk. But I think you understand what I'm saying. What am I saying? I'm saying it's okay to be a beta. Again, I'm going to go refer back to the lore that I know as Native American lore. I'm not going to claim to be some student of Native American philosophy, but one of the things that I always liked about it is I know that even we're going extreme here, but they didn't treat the members of the tribe differently in other words, they didn't go, you're supposed to be masculine, you fucking, you gay Indian. No, they just called them two-spirit, and were perfectly fine to let them be who they were, to exploit them for who they were. This is the lore. I don't know. For all I know, they were all savages, and they just beat each other up because they were dicks, like everybody else. Chances are, Navajo high school is just as shitty as a white guy high school. I don't know. But, yeah, try to look for the good in others. And that sounds like I'm trying to say in a spiritual way, but no, I'm trying to say find the qualities in other people and exploit them. When you meet somebody, you're like, oh, okay, you're a soft little doughy guy. What good could you possibly ever do? You're not going to be good at, running upstairs and saving people from the top floor in a burning building. You're not going to do it, right? You're mushy. But what are you good at? Well, maybe you're good at math, probably. Maybe you're good at science fiction, imagining an alternative universe where guys like you can do better. Well, since there's so many guys like you, maybe we want guys like you to do better, and maybe that's the way to go. Lord knows we need clerks. We need mid-level managers. Fit in there and get your work done. It's not a big deal. Basically, quit treating people like shit. And this insulting people because they don't fit into some stereotypic ideal that isn't even ideal. It's not even ideal. Would you want to live in a world where every man was 6'5" and built like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Is that the ideal? The master race? Some Hitlerian kind of a thing? Does that even sound fun? When the guy making your pizza could be, the heavyweight champion of the world? That doesn't even make sense. It's stupid. It's a stupid fantasy. A stupid, stupid fantasy. So let it go. Let it go. You're not an alpha. They're not a beta. You're probably not a beta. And they probably aren't an alpha. You've got a specific individual niche that you can fill. And if you fill it, you're doing the world a good favor. If you can just fill a particular niche and get really good at it. Provide a service. Be an asset to those around you. Don't be a burden to those around you. And part of being a burden to those around you is being a dick. You fucking beta. Cuck. Yeah. Guess what? You know who wants to be around you? 5 other guys who think they are alpha males that probably aren't, but they got a good fantasy football league going on. Anyway, thanks for listening.